Greetings, foolish mortals. When you think of Disney, you think of magic and princesses and talking mice. You do not think of gothic tension, seances, and interdimensional aliens. At least not in 1980. But in 1980, Walt Disney Productions decided they wanted to make a real horror film, a serious horror movie. Their first attempt, Watcher in the Woods. This is an absolute anomaly in Disney's catalog. Producer Tom Leach famously pitched it as, and I quote, "This could be our Exorcist." What we ended up with, in my opinion, was much better. And don't get me wrong, I love The Exorcist. My mom went to see it in theaters when she was 13 and told me how actual people threw up in the theater. Hilarious. But no, with The Watcher in the Woods, what we ended up with was this strange, messy, and genuinely disturbing cult classic that ended up traumatizing a generation of preteens, much like The Exorcist did do for my mom. I'm Cora Poe, and this is Slumber Myth, a place for insomnia fuel. Hi, Demon. So we are going to dive into what makes this movie so weird. The production chaos that created multiple contradictory endings, and why, for a brief moment, Disney went all in on horror. The plot is simple, at least at the start. The Curtis family, mom, dad, teenage Jan, and little Ellie, move from America into a huge, beautiful, creepy manor in the English countryside. The manor is owned by the fiercely intense Mrs. Aylwood, played by the legendary Bette Davis, and this is one of her final roles. Anyway, Mrs. Aylwood is obsessed with Jan because she looks exactly like her daughter, Karen, who had mysteriously vanished without a trace just 30 years before. Almost immediately, Jan starts having visions. The apparition of a blindfolded girl trapped in reflections, cracks appearing in the glass in the shape of a triangle, and a steadily growing, heavy sense of being watched from the surrounding forest. And meanwhile, Ellie, the little sister, is hearing whispers. She gets a puppy and names it Narak. This, of course, is the anadrome for Karen. This film is a classic mystery, gothic mystery, mixed with unsettling psychic phenomena. The mystery revolves around the night that Karen, Mrs. Aylwood's daughter, disappeared. It was upon the eve of her 16th birthday, during a solar eclipse. It occurred inside an abandoned chapel while participating in a bizarre, trance-like test of courage. This test involved 3 other children. Jan realizes the only way to save Karen and stop the terrifying Watcher is to try to repeat the ritual during the next eclipse, and then the torment of whatever psychic, ghosty bullshit is happening to her might stop. Now, this is where The Watcher in the Woods goes from being a creepy ghost story to being a totally glorious mess. And it all comes down to the ending. So, spoilers. But also this isn't available on Disney. Like, they won't release it. They won't re-release it on the streaming service, so, good luck finding it. When the film was originally shown to test with audiences, they hated the ending. They found it completely incomprehensible. So Disney pulled the movie and commissioned multiple endings, resulting in absolute narrative chaos. So let's talk about the most common version, the one that if you do find it, it will likely be the one that you find, and that's the Pillar of Light ending. In the climax, Jan successfully repeats the ritual, the one in the spooky abandoned chapel or whatever. Well, Ellie runs in and becomes possessed by a strange voice that conveniently explains everything. 30 years ago, Karen didn't go missing. Well, not in the way that we could have ever possibly thought. During the ritual, she accidentally swapped places with an interdimensional alien. hence the possession of little sister Ellie. The entity, the Watcher, is the pillar of light, and the poor thing's been trapped in the woods. Jan attempts to send the Watcher back, and when it disappears, Karen reappears, just as she was 30 years ago. Still blindfolded, mind you. It's a goddamn science fiction exposition, messily hot glued to a ghost story. Delicious. Just horribly delicious. But it gets weirder. The original ending actually showed the Watcher's true form, which was a cheesy skeletal alien that had more of like an insectoid body frame, and it looked like it flew in from a low-budget sci-fi show. That bug skeleton thing grabs Jan and carries her to a spaceship where she finds Karen. Director John Huff himself hated how the visual effects looked, which largely contributed to that ending being scrapped. The existence of these endings basically turns The Watcher in the Woods into a choose-your-own-adventure horror story. Is the Watcher a trapped, interdimensional alien? Is it a powerful pillar of energy? What it is a complete narrative collapse that somehow makes the film even more fascinating. Ridiculous endings aside, the reason this film became a cult classic is because for 70 minutes, it is seriously unsettling. For a Disney movie, the atmosphere is suffocatingly gothic, which obviously I'm a huge fan of. Director John Huff uses classic horror techniques beautifully. You have constant POV shots of something unseen stalking the girls in the woods, giving you that classic proto-slasher feel. You have the incredible imagery of Karen blindfolded, desperately reaching from within the glass. And I mean, the idea is old, but it never grows old, of just how disturbing psychologically it is to think about being trapped on the other side of the mirror. Some kind of profound loneliness and, for some reason, self-loathing tied into it. And then this film is also a cult classic because of the performances. The child actors, particularly the young Kyle Richards, who fans will recognize from the first Halloween movie, they're incredible. They're in like a trance-like state, and their performances should be applauded. That possessed voice saying, "It's almost time." It's nightmare fuel. And naturally, you cannot talk about The Watcher in the Woods without talking about Bette Davis. Her eyes, her delivery, she lends an instant, chilling gravitas. Like, she isn't just an old lady, she's a grieving mother with decades of unspoken anguish, making her the most human and perhaps the scariest, least human character in the whole film. This film is often given the honored title of gateway horror. Movies that were rated PG but scared the absolute hell out of kids because the terror was psychological. Leave it to the 20th century to do that. In this particular horror, the PG rating is technically accurate, and when horror is more atmospheric or psychological and just weird, children don't have the tools or the vocabulary to explain their feelings or ask questions about what they're experiencing. So, big question, should you make it a priority to watch The Watcher in the Woods this spooky season? Abso-fucking-lutely. Despite the narrative mess brought on by reshoots, seriously, the final 10 minutes are a complete tonal shift. But, like, I love that, so, you know, maybe you will too. The majority of the film is a masterclass in slow burn. It's almost all atmospheric dread. It's an objectively gorgeous looking movie with decent cinematography, fantastic performances, and definitely a chilling sense of place. As you probably could have guessed, The Watcher in the Woods was a financial failure in the beginning. It was pretty much pulled from theaters and confused critics. But its legacy is that it is a brilliant footnote in Disney's history, or in my opinion, horror history. I think it had a lasting impact on the genre as it was coming to this pivotal moment that occurred during the 80s. It kind of proved that the studio could produce genuinely terrifying material, paving the way for other slightly darker fare like Something Wicked This Way Comes. Ultimately, The Watcher in the Woods is a beautiful, broken horror experiment. The creepy kid hiding in the corner of Disney's otherwise perfect and cheerful family photo. You know, every family's got some goth kid somewhere. And I think it's exactly the kind of strange, spooky gem that we should all be celebrating. So now I turn it over to you. If you have seen this movie, which ending did you grow up watching? Or have you seen multiple? If so, like, what do you prefer? Do you lean into the ghost story, or do you embrace the confusing, exciting sci-fi explanation? Let me know in the comments. If you liked this dive into strange Disney history and forgotten horror, please hit that like button and subscribe for more spooky season goodness. Though, be wary that the spooky season weirdness is pretty year-round. Like, I talk about other stuff, but it's all mostly like, it's gonna be spooky, you know, in one way or another. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and happy nightmares.